Hi there folks, in this video we're going to have a look at a 12 gauge to 410 adapter shell. So this is a device that allows you to take a 410 shell and use it in your 12 gauge gun. So this is one of those simple little things you'll see at gun shows on some of the vendors' tables, and they're worth, I don't know, I think they sell them for $15 to $20 regular price. This one was in a junk box and I picked it up for $5. I figured it was worth the $5 just to do a video. Anyway, it's a very simple thing, just a injection molded chunk of plastic. You can actually see, where's the sprue? Yeah, right there. There's where the sprue would be when it came out of the injection molding machine. And we've got a steel insert. There's a magnet will stick to that. We've got a steel insert in the base, which sort of reinforces it a bit. And these are kind of unusual because they are quite short. If we were to measure this thing, it is in fact right about the 2.5 inch mark there, so pretty short. If you look at an unfired 2 3/4 inch shell, this is an older Winchester AA. An unfired shell is, what is it there, just over 2 1/4 inches long. A fired hull is the 2 3/4-ish length mark. And as you can see, this thing is kind of in between those two lengths. So the reason for this being so short, I believe, is to make it feed through perhaps pump guns, through the actions of semi-autos, to be able to use them as a repeater. Obviously, it's not going to cycle the action of a semi-auto to use it in that mode, but manually cycled, it should cycle through most guns. The idea being that you'd be able to put several of these in your, say, your pump gun and cycle them like regular shells. Of course, that appeals to the manufacturer because they get to sell more of them. However, the downside to that is that it leaves you with an extremely short effective length of barrel and resultantly very low velocities, as I understand it. A buddy of mine years ago had one of these, and he said he got, you know, maybe, what was it, 650 feet per second out of a shell, which is basically half of what the shell would do when fired out of a proper length barrel. So being so short, it does limit you to the 2.5 inch or shorter shells. As you can see, the adapter is actually shorter than an unfired 3-inch shotgun shell. So we stick this thing in there, the 3-inch, it actually pokes out the top, and as you can see, when it would be fired, it would poke out even further. So that wouldn't make too much sense, would it now? But get that thing out of there. A 2.5 inch 410 shell, when inserted, does not protrude. It's a little bit below the top of the shell, so when the crimp unfolds, I have a fired shell here to demonstrate, a very tired looking fired shell. When that goes in, you can see that the crimp is a little bit below the level of the end of that adapter, so that's kind of the length of shell that you would use in this thing. Or even better would be a shorter shell, because you can get 2-inch 410 shells occasionally. They might not be a bad idea for these things either. With the short length, basically you have no real barrel length. You're just relying on the acceleration that the shot would get while it's sort of in the length of the shell, which would explain why the velocities are reputed to be so slow. Anyway, I'm going to try this in a single shot shotgun, because to me that's sort of a better idea than a pump gun. But anyway, I don't expect this to be very effective, but I just thought it was an interesting little device, and be kind of interested to make a little video to see how it works out. Anyway, I guess the next step is to get some shells and the chronograph set up and try these things out. Alright, I'm out at the range. I'm going to try out the little 410 to 12 gauge adapter. Got a box of Winchester target loads, number 9 shot, 1/2 ounce, 2.5 inch. And these are the older shells, compression formed. And I've got a Baikal IJ17 to try them out of. And that's a 2 3/4 inch chamber. So let's give these things a try. And here's shot number 1 out of the 410 adapter. This is from about 6 feet away from the chronograph, and we've got 660 feet per second. So pretty low speed, just as predicted. Well, one thing you need to have along if you're going to shoot these is a way to get the cases out, because they don't just pull out easily. You can see how these actually protrude past the end of the adapter when they're fired. I'm using this section of 223 cleaning rod. That works out pretty good. Fits in the pockets of the pants I'm wearing and easily extracts these. Some of the higher pressure hunting shells don't come out quite as easily though. Here's shot number 2, 553 feet per second, even slower. Alright, I'm back home from the range. I figured it'd be easier to review these patterns here at home than it would be at the range. So I've got a couple of cardboard targets here that I shot at 2 different ranges. And the first one that you're looking at here is the one from only 5 yards away. And it threw quite a large pattern for such a close distance. You can see there were pellets from here to here. There's actually one way down there. There's actually another one way up here at the top. So it's quite a large pattern. It would be somewhat usable here in the center. There's a reasonable density of pattern. You can see where the wad actually penetrated the cardboard. We were up so close. This was the shot that chronographed 660 feet per second. So pretty big pattern for so close up. Then I've got another one here. This one was shot at 10 yards, and this is the shot that was 553 feet per second. And surprisingly, with the greater distance, we have a tighter pattern, but I suspect that's because of the lower velocity. So this one probably didn't blow the pattern out as much as the higher velocity shot did. So this one's quite a bit more usable pattern, but unfortunately, that kind of shows the Achilles heel of these things, which is the low velocity and the rather inconsistent velocity. I chronographed another couple of shells that I didn't bother showing, and one of them was down as low as, I think it was about 450 feet per second. So really very inconsistent velocities, and as a result of that, the pattern sizes tend to be rather inconsistent as well. So that leads me to the conclusion that these are of limited value, these adapters. They would only really work at quite a close range, not just because of the pattern, but because of the low velocity of the pellets as well. So with that combination of low muzzle velocity and inconsistent patterns, I think these are best reserved for extreme close range at, pest animals. Probably 10 yards and under is about the usable distance for them, so I wouldn't bother going back too far because you really don't have any speed. Anyway, that's my assessment of these little 410 adapters. Thanks for watching, and as always, your comments and ratings are appreciated, and we'll see you in the next video.